No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world, and we're in here today with my man Gene.
What's going on, man?
Gene Borello.
Yes.
How you feeling?
Good, man.
It's nice to have you in here. We met under very strange circumstances. We were actually rolling around New York City together for a couple of days, with Trap Lord Ross being the tie that binded us together.
Right, and you know, when I seen you in the barbershop, like when we were at that barbershop scene, you know,
yes,
and you were sticking up for him.
Math Hoffa's barbershop.
So,
oh yeah, I was going hard. Okay,
I like that, and I told everybody, I says, you know, I like this dude for doing that because they were kind of like cornering him. Yeah. And I was getting antsy over there. And I'm like, all right, I'm about to jump in. I want to say something because I don't like what's going on here. So I'm glad you jumped in and, you know, stuck up for him, and that's why I was like, all right, yeah.
And I will say that the comment section on that video was pretty unanimous in feeling like they were not really being fair to Trap Lord Ross. No, I think Math Hoffa was, but the other dude, Mecca or whatever, he was going a little hard on him.
This is my friend Anthony Arillotta.
Right, okay.
He ran all the mass for the Genovese family, one of the 5 families. His people killed Whitey Bulger. He killed, you know, he has a lot of crazy stories. I brought him on here because this is the first time we ever sat together with somebody else, you know what I mean? So it'll be a pretty crazy show.
Right, no, definitely. And I want to just say this before we start, is that I may have somewhat encyclopedic knowledge of a lot of the street shit in terms of the rappers and whatnot. As far as the Mafia stuff, I'm pretty green.
We're the first time on your show, as I'm known, right? Bob guys?
I feel like there's got to have been other ones, but
Italian?
Definitely in recent memory, I'm pretty sure it's, there might... Maybe it is.
Really?
Maybe I'm popping my cherry.
I checked. I think we're the first time.
Wow, that's actually kind of crazy. Yeah, because I've watched Vlad interview so many Mafia dudes over the years. Right. Yeah,
we're going on him too next. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And I got tuned into some other decent channels out there and stuff as a result of watching some other interviews that you guys have done. But okay, like let's just crack it off. Tell me a little bit about where you're coming from and how, like, what exactly led to you getting into this line of work.
Right. So for me, I was born in Howard Beach, Queens. Right. Howard Beach, Queens is a Mafia stronghold. John Gotti, Vic Amuso, Joe Messino, Sally Balls, 5 bosses lived there basically. Tons of captains, soldiers. It's just a Mafia stronghold soap opera. And I was brought up in it. My uncle was a powerful captain in the Gambino family. His name was Fat Andy Ruggiano. That was my mother's godfather. So I was pretty much born around it. My cousin Johnny Boy was a hitter for the Gambinos. He was killed at 20 years old. He killed multiple people for the family.
And so you're knowing about all this stuff from a pretty young age?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? So I was born around it. It's all I knew. It's all I wanted to be. And like I said, it's like you go to school and you say, I want to be a baseball player. And this is real. I want to be a doctor. No, I want to be a gangster. That's what I wanted to be. And, you know, because being in that area, that's all we knew. Loan shark, bookmakers, shootings, robberies, that's what we know, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy just having a conversation with somebody coming from your background, because I feel like the people are so used to hearing these kind of stories from the rappers and the young black dudes, and so it's kind of like hard for them to put themselves into the mentality of exactly where you're coming from, even though it is a very similar set of circumstances that leads to it. It's just a little bit of different cultural
Now, let me bug you out even more.
Sure.
Howard Beach is a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. There's shootings in it because it's a bunch of Italian and Irish people going crazy. Right. So if you look at the neighborhood, it's beautiful. The houses go up to $3 million. Right. But it's the most corrupt suburb in the world. Everybody knows where Howard Beach, Queens was. So, like I said, people go missing. You know, it was just a crazy neighborhood, and that's what I grew up in, and, you know, that's how I got caught up.
Now, I realized that, like, even me going to comparing it to like black gangs is kind of silly, because obviously like the Italian mob in America has been around for forever.
Right. And more structured.
More structured. Right. So like, I mean, I guess like from your perspective, what role does the mob play, or did it play, in those environments, as opposed to how you see it playing out when I'm assuming that you've watched some content over the years about what's going on in a place like O Block or whatever. Like how do you contrast and compare this?
So I always said this, and like I said, we might be more organized, but we are at the end of the day Italian gang members, because I mean, we might do similar things, maybe not the same. They should be more structured, but at the end of the day, we're both killing, we're both robbing, we're both stealing, we're both extorting. It's very similar. It's just the fact of they might do like color bang. We don't have that. Right. I mean, everything with us is over money. If it's not about money, we don't give a
Right.
The best way to get killed in the mafia is steal from us. It's the worst crime you could do in the organized crime. Money, money, money. Everything's about the dollar. So I say the gangs ain't about the money. That's the problem. They're more on gang banging and color banging and not really focusing on what they should be.
Right. Because you go back in time, you land on something like BMF that like was obviously existed for the sole purpose of pushing huge amounts of drugs.
That's rare.
But then you fast forward up until like, the last 10, 20 years of rap music and stuff. It's primarily due to their gangs exist to beef with each other, and there's very little, like the guys who I know who are in gangs in LA, if they were to decide, oh, we're moving keys of cocaine, that is so separate from the gang shit. That's just their own personal business endeavor, which makes it kind of like fundamentally different than what's going on in the mob, where the whole point of it is that you become part of this family and you're kicking upstairs to the big guys, right?
Well, yeah, something similar. I mean, I think with the gangs, they waste their lives and do something at a young age, and they throw their lives away for a murder, let's say, over someone being wearing the wrong color or being in the wrong area, wrong part of the city, with someone else's territory. And they'll shoot the guy over nothing to do with money, just, on principle that they shouldn't be there. Whereas, the mafia was always structured as an organization, like a second form of, like, there was neck and neck with the government. We controlled unions. We had mafia families in just about every major city. You had to kill to get into that organization.
Explain to them what they made you do to the union guy.
Yeah, so you had back in the day, you had a murder that showed that you could, you could be feared. And also, if you could make money, it also showed that if you could do both, if you were an earner, that's what made you dangerous on the streets. That's what made you the ultimate gangster. If somebody that knows how to make money becomes powerful, money is power. And if you could pull the trigger and blow someone's brains out, it gives you that respect on the streets, just like with the gangs and everything. But with us, the gangs are evolving like that now because money is power, and everybody knows that money is the power. My situation is there's 5 families in New York. I'm from Western Mass, smaller city, but same thing, heavily Italian, mafia populated.
And for the record, I'm from Nashua, New Hampshire, which is like 40 minutes outside of Boston, so similar neck of the woods.
2 hours from us. I'm from Springfield, Western Mass.
Right.
So the 5 families are the biggest outside of New York. Springfield, Mass, Western Mass, and Connecticut is part of one of the biggest families, the Genovese crime family. So growing up, we had notorious gangsters around us, just like Gene, my uncle, my family was involved. My uncle was the boss driver, Big Nose Sam's driver. So, you look up to that. You see them. My family owned a fruit store. They were all coming in, shopping, buying fruits and vegetables from my father. You look up to them. They get the respect, and they have power. You could tell they have a presence where people respected them and they feared them. And so, you want to be part of that at a young age. And, you're growing up and you're similar, like you said, with the gangs. We're wild, but we're Italian. So the ultimate goal for an Italian is to be a mafia guy. Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, if you were a wild Italian, the mafia is coming to pluck you.
They're looking for you.
And in my case, that's what happened, especially if you know how to make money. I was a big earner, tens of millions of dollars that we controlled, and we controlled all of outside of New York, Connecticut and Massachusetts. We controlled all of that for the Genovese family.
And what were the primary ways of earning money that you were concerned with at this point?
With us, it was the usual sports gambling. We had everything with the sports gambling. Now it's legal, but I mean, we had before it was the internet. It was you would have guys answering phones. So we had dozens and dozens of guys answering phones. Usually one guy could handle 30 guys per office. Then you would have guys clean them out. So we had a lot of workers that worked the phones for us, but we actually were in charge of taking the bets. If you lost $100,000, you would pay me and the people that were running the book. If you won it, we would pay out of our pockets. You would win the $100,000. Sports gambling was a big part. Loan sharking, huge business back in the day. The number business, huge back in the day.
It was like the old school version of the lottery.
It is
Yes.
the lottery.
Right.
Yeah, and we had it right up until I went to prison in 2010, a huge number business.
Really? And that all came crashing down when you got locked up?
Well, when I got locked up in 2010, the whole area ended up getting decimated because of that. Everything just fell apart after that. There wasn't people capable afterwards. There wasn't. There was a lot of informants that were sent into us, and everything just fell apart after. But up until 2010, there was nothing. It was tens of millions of dollars that we controlled, and I'm not even saying the unions. The legitimate businesses, the restaurants, multiple restaurants, bars, the vending businesses, the politicians in our area, the law enforcement. It was like something with the bail bondsman was a made guy's brother. We had control outside of New York, just like they had control inside New York. But we had the same type of control on a smaller level, but in a wider field, like Connecticut and Mass is.
Well, I'll tell you this real quick,
big.
Adam. It's so bad. How bad they controlled it in like his era, the 80s and 90s. You cannot do anything in unions without going to organized crime. Nothing.
Or the streets.
Streets, nothing. Literally, you can't do nothing. Everything has to go.
If you wanted to be a sports bookmaker, you had to get permission.
Or
anything. You were
anything.
paying somebody to
That's
do
it.
that. Loan shark, and same thing. You had to be with somebody, or if you weren't with somebody, you were paying them money to be allowed to. Those were considered street rackets, just like the vending business with the
My
Joker
cousin Anthony had a huge
pokers.
vending. Yeah,
that's legitimate. But the
Right.
Joker poker part, those are considered illegal sports gambling. They belong to us. If you around and you want to put those out in places, then you better be paying money to do that.
And like the thing that's always kind of gone through my head watching these sort of deals or like seeing how this is supposed to work is just trying to imagine like how do dudes not just go rogue and do their own thing and not contribute, etc. What happens to dudes who try to do it on their own?
look,
I'm gonna do it all the time.
Right. So look, here's a situation though with that. You want to be around somebody. So like when you're in the organized crime world, you want to feel that sense of I have these people behind me. You know what I mean? So they want to pay somebody. When I was coming up and I was young, guys would just give my captain money just because they want to say they're around him, bro. They would just want to say they were around him just to feel safe.
There was that much of a level of respect.
That much of that level of respect. I was around some real serious guys. Vinny Asaro, who he did the Lufthansa heist at the Goodfellas, the movie.
Right.
That's his heist. Ronnie Gialonzo, my boss was making $400,000 a month. $400,000 a month in cash. So, we had powerhouse money, violence, everything. So guys would just want to say, I'm with Ronnie. Give them $1,000 a week, $2,000 a week without their money, just to say I'm with somebody to feel safe where they got a situation, go talk to my guy.
Right.
And that's it. That makes them feel safe.
Right. Damn.
And there is guys that go rogue, like in outside,
they end up where?
in Connecticut and Mass. They do get away with it for a while until they end up getting caught. They'll call them in for a sit down. If they don't come in, they look to do violence to them. But some guys are just violent guys. They carry guns too, so they'll like say bring it on. But they end up a lot of times back in the day they ended up dead or severely beaten and hospitalized and things like that. But as time went on, you see in more. Like I was heavily involved in the drug business as well. The mob doesn't get involved in the drugs, but I was, especially the marijuana business.
And is that something that you were having to keep hidden from?
Yeah, so that was
Absolutely.
kind of like,
Oh, my
you
God.
could consider I was a rogue because I never gave that not a penny to the Mafia bosses in my city, in Massachusetts. So I kept all that money. And I also would, keep a lot of, like back in the day, in the early 90s, we had a huge loan sharking operation. We had $400,000 on the street. That was all our money. We split it up between three of us. The Mafia guys, the bosses, didn't get any of that. But when they do find out, they'll call you in and they say, you guys, you got money on the streets, they're going to want a piece of it, and align you with them, and that's how they bring you in a little bit at a time, and especially like wild guys growing up, they're snatching you up back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s because they need us. They need young guys, especially guys that are able to shoot someone and they're able to bring them money so they can feed their families.
And Adam, like I said, I'm sitting in front of you here today, and he is today because we were those wild guys. I was the guy carrying the gun. I was the guy shooting you in broad daylight. I was the guy that would do things that other people wouldn't do.
Right.
How are we going to get this guy? Well, I'm going to shoot him where I see him. What do you mean? Anywhere I see him. So you had certain guys that were doing that and certain guys that weren't doing that.
Right.
So you see guys sitting here talking to you today and telling you all these crazy stories because we were doing that.
Right.
So we prospered. You would prosper faster in the mafia, you know, and people would look at you like, oh, that kid's a ballsy.
Right.
That's the mother putting the work in.
Yeah. What are the ways to gain respect or rank in that environment? Because obviously, like, violence is one of the main ones. Obviously, in your world, like bringing money in seems like it gains you a lot of
money and violence is the key. See,
That's
it's more
why
money.
I said the both. When you do both, that's the most dangerous.
But we're going to tell you this: if you're just an earner, you're not respected. Right. If you're just giving an envelope,
someone's going to pluck you and take you.
If you're just an envelope and you're just giving money, all the real guys will have their secret little convo like, this guy's a jerk off. He pays his way because you never put no work in. You know what I mean? They always want to see that you're capable.
If you didn't put work in and you got your button, it's like you don't get the same respect.
Right.
He didn't bust an egg.
He didn't do nothing.
He got his button because he made a lot of money. When you kill and then you're still able to make that money, that's, like I said, that's when you get all the respect and the fear, and that's what comes with that.
There's like a thing that I keep hearing, like young gangster dudes, like from the black community, like rapper type dudes, whatever, that they'll say, which is that until you got 2 bodies, it doesn't even count.
Right.
Or that if you kill someone in self-defense, if somebody comes to try to do something to you and you kill them, that also doesn't count.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Here's the thing.
But that's a good killing, though.
Yeah.
Because if somebody, I wish, like, you know, like if you kill somebody, you want it to be somebody that did something to you.
Exactly.
I mean, if you go, they had me go to New York and shoot a guy I never even know 9 times in the streets of New York. I never even knew the guy.
And it feels a little dark inside. You don't even know why.
No, it don't.
It
doesn't.
Because they're part of that life.
I'm sorry, Adam.
You want him to be just as unrepentant as you.
No, but I'm being real with you. When you're in that life,
real.
it's just an order. Like, it's nothing personal. It's just business. You know when your time's up. Like, I remember in 2004, I was dying to kill someone. I'm trying to get straightened out, right? So I'm like, yo, I want the next murder. I want the next murder. They're like, no, they gave it to another dude. I'm furious. Now, think how sick this sounds. I'm bugging out because I didn't get the murder. Me and my partner, Bobby, were trying to kill this dude in the Bronx for something, and they gave it to somebody else because we wanted to get straightened out young. So we wanted the body so bad. And that's how it goes, because it sounds crazy to the regular people, but in our world, you know, it's normal.
We're killing each other. As sick as that
we're killing each other, not civilians.
You know, we're you know, I killed people. If I end up dead, who's really gonna, you know, care about that? Because he's going to say, well, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And so, you know, we live by that. Now, an innocent person, 100%. You know, if you're driving down the street,
you're a
God
scumbag.
forbid you run over a little kid by accident, you can't live with that. You know, shooting somebody in the car and you shoot their mother by accident or a little kid by accident, that's hard to live with. But we're killing each other. They had me shoot a guy in New York. Like I said, I didn't know, but he was part of that life. And so you don't really feel you know, that remorse or anything, because that's that life we're living. We get told that we got contracts on us, that people are looking to come kill us. We got enemies in that life.
Right.
People are trying to kill us, and you know, we go out trying to kill. They got people trying to kill us, and it's like whoever can be a better.
And you know what's also fucked up,
longer.
Adam, and it's what's crazy that what we're taught is element of surprise. So like when your time is up, you know who's killing you, right?
Yeah,
your best
that's
friend. They sent me to shoot my closest friend. My first shooting was my friend. My first shooting was my friend. I shot him in broad daylight in front of his girlfriend. That was my first shooting.
Why'd you do it in such a public environment?
Because I was told to get him on site. He did something so a violation. He robbed my boss's main earner, tied up his whole family, tied up the wife, everything. One of the robbers slapped the wife on the ass. So it was like really bad. Yeah. So I was told, shoot on site. And I'm his friend, so I lured him to me.
Yeah.
Think about your friend luring you to, and then popping him.
And that's the bad thing when you set up your friend to get killed, no matter what part of it is. If I tell him, come meet me, and someone else, you blow his brains out from behind, it's still, you know, I'm part of that.
Right.
And my friend, you know, I had to plead guilty to a conspiracy to murder, but he didn't actually get killed. I grew up with him, childhood friend. They put a false label on, said he was an informant. The faction that put the informant on, it was a boss in our area, Babish Shabeli and his crew with them. They were the informants. They labeled him as the informant. We got a word from, because we take orders from New York City when it comes to killing.
Right.
When it comes to killing, we take the order. Or if there's an internal beef, we take orders from New York City. But other than that, everything is ours. No money goes down there. No money was getting sent. Tribute was getting sent with all kinds of expensive liquors, all kinds of cigars. 50,000 at the end at Christmas time. Al Bruno was the boss of Western Mass. I pled guilty to murdering him. He was our boss. He used to fill up a van and send 50,000 at Christmas time, all kinds of, but no money. So we took orders when it came to murder at the extreme. Just like all New York families, they got to get an okay when it comes, when they're going to take somebody out from the bosses over there. Same thing with us. We got to get the okay from the bosses.
See how gangs just run around shooting each other? Yeah. We can't do that. So I can't just run around killing people, because guess what? I'm putting all my people at risk. And not only that, wow, this kid's committing murders. Get rid of him. He's a when you have to check in with everything. You can't just run around just, you know what I'm saying?
But once there's an order, you can just do it in broad daylight.
Listen to me. Once there's an order, you're done. Like, you're getting, it don't get taken away. And you know what I'm saying?
If you kill and you didn't have that order back in the day, you're going to get killed.
And if you botched it, you got killed.
Yeah. So if if
you botched
you get told to go on a hill, we had a couple of guys that were supposed to get made in Western Mass. They were going to get made with me. They were supposed to come with me on that hit in New York City, and they didn't come. And they got told by the boss to participate in that murder.
And they just didn't show up?
Didn't show up. One guy ran away, said, "Take me off the list." That's a death sentence right there, right? Said, "Take me off the list."
Oh my God, you can't.
The other guy was gonna come, but there was so much confusion, and that's way too long with stories. But so much confusion on what was going on. Who's the boss? There's a new boss in New York. Who's listening? This guy's getting taken down. We're gonna kill him. So much, so he didn't come. So I ended up bringing a couple other guys, and that's who participated in the shooting in New York City.
Okay, I have a question, and this is going to probably be a theme throughout this interview, which is that me kind of contrasting and comparing how you guys did things versus how a lot of the rappers that I've spoken to and stuff do things. But there's like a tradition or like a way of doing things that I always find like extremely disturbing when it comes to like street gangs and everything, which is basically like, if you kill one of my guys are going to the neighborhood that you're from, and they're going to kill random people. And a lot of times, those people are not involved in any way. Is that completely off limits in your world?
Completely off limits. Let me explain something to you.
And that seems like a good thing.
Right. A very good thing.
Woman, children.
You can be a huge rat against organized crime, and your mother can still walk the streets, and your family. They never take it out against the family. It's always just you.
Yeah.
They can never kill innocents. That's a complete no.
I can appreciate that. That's principle.
That's how it's supposed to be. Cartels, I don't respect that. I'm not shooting no kid. I'm not shooting no girl.
Oh yeah,
I'm not raping no kid.
We're also we want the body to disappear. Every murder that we go on, like a lot of gangs, it's drive-bys, it's shooting at them. If our ultimate goal is to kill that person and have that body disappear where there's no crime scene, there's no body.
But so that's infinitely more complex. And that's the kind of thing that would have been way easier to pull off in the 70s and 80s before there was surveillance.
And I was doing shit on the modern day, so think about it.
What? It's not, when you say complex, it's the easiest thing in the world because Mafia has rules. So we call you to come in. Now, if you don't come in, you're dead. So that's number one. So now you're rolling the dice. Why do they want me to come in? Could be a simple thing like maybe they're going to straighten you out. They're going to make you, but you still got to come in. How easy is that when you lure somebody in and you can't bring guns at meetings? That's another no-no. You can't bring your crew. You can't. You got to come. When they come, sometimes they pick you up. They tell you you're going somewhere. They pick you up on a street. Then they drive you somewhere else, drop you off. Someone else picks you up, drives you there. You're in like 3-4 different cars before you finally end up at the meeting. Nobody knows where you are. And back, then it's not like technology today. The phones, they know where we all are. They got cameras everywhere. You ain't getting away with that today. But if they call you in, it's the easiest thing to kill them. And now getting rid of the body, that's another easy thing. I mean, you got a hole dug, or a lot of sickos, they chop them up. And
so it's easier than I would assume.
It's easier, yeah, exactly. Because of the rules that we have. We tell you, you got to come in when the boss calls.
It's like this, Adam. Look, right now, you're sitting there. We call for you. That he's right there going to pretend to go get coffee and shoot you in the back of your head. That's how they do it. Yeah. And then we're going to go put you somewhere in weeds somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. And no one knows where you are. Nobody knows where you are.
And if you have a remote enough hiding spot, nobody's going to catch you digging the hole, and nobody's going to go sniffing
for the... for a week, probably with a fucking plywood, all right? Your murder been played over 25 times already before you got there.
Because, just me being a guy, occasionally I'll, start to have that thought process of, well, if you were going to kill somebody, how the fuck would you get rid of the body? And it's it's kind of like a fun thought experiment, but it's also very difficult to, really arrive at, what the foolproof plan version of it would be.
Why they hate the Italians? Because we're so organized. Like he said, you got to come in. The bodies are never left in the street usually. So it's hard to solve these murders. The guy went missing. There's no blood. There's no evidence. There's no nothing. He's just gone.
Whereas, like, when I talk about, like, Chicago street gang
that's
killings,
where they'll get caught.
Every person gets killed in the same way, pretty much.
With choppers and the cameras.
They run up, they shoot them, or they drive by and they shoot them.
If you go back to, like, the 20s.
But there's no technology.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is if you go back to the 20s, the way everything was back then, before organized crime got organized, they were killing everybody the same way back then. Drive-by shootings.
Right. They stopped
over alcohol, prohibition and all that. It wasn't drugs, but they were still doing the same, exact things.
The Al Capone era.
But they evolved.
Stopped all that.
They evolved, but these guys ain't going to have the chance to evolve. The reason the Mafia became what it was, like you said, the technology, it didn't exist. So they didn't have time to, they had like a 100-year run before these technology came out where they can listen to everything and focus and, have, the phones. Now, the phones never existed till the late 90s, and the smartphones didn't exist. One of the guys in our family, Buster Ardito, he was the first guy ever where you could have your cell phone shut off and they could turn it on and listen to all your conversations.
Really?
He was the first guy ever that they did that to. I don't know if it was the first mob guy, but he was the first guy that it came out in a federal court that he was leaving it because he used to bring his phones and just for addresses, and he would leave it there, and then he would shut it off, and then he would talk business at wherever the cafe or the restaurant and everything, and they had the whole thing wired up, so they didn't have that all back then. So the gangs today, they're killing everybody, shooting everybody. They're getting all the way around. They're getting the RICOs, so they're getting those 40, 50-year sentences. They got the technology on them, which the mob didn't have back in the day. So they're not going to have that start, whereas the mob did. So they ain't going to go nowhere at the end. If they get too big, they're going to get 100 years in prison, right? And so they don't have that, they don't have what the mob had as that head start to create that, because the mob doesn't have that no more.
Right.
The mob isn't the mob no more like it was. Because of this technology, the RICO laws.
Because that's one thing that I've heard a few different people who come from like a street gang background is basically like the idea of dudes having, 8, 10 plus bodies is mostly like a fantasy these days, because there's so many different ways to catch somebody, and more importantly, there's just so many people willing to talk.
Well, you're killing for a reason with organized crime. We're not going to just go, it's for a reason. You broke a rule. You did something. We have to die. Sometimes you might do something, throw them a beating. We're not going to just go and kill you over nothing. You know what I'm saying? The gangs do that. You know what I mean? Literally drive by, they're doing, ridiculous things. I just came out of MDC Brooklyn. I'm with all the gangs. They're getting a shitload of time now. With the federal, you understand, you don't have to hit the person. You can just shoot at them and get 20 years. Right. You're doing it for the organization to up your position. They'll fucking roof you. So their laws are so different than the state. You understand? So when you go federal with these RICO cases, get caught with a gun, protecting the drugs, 15 years, you know what I mean? It's insane. So they're crushing the gangs right now. They're getting crushed by RICO.
Wow.
Crushed. Yeah. So, I was with Casanova. He got 15 years.
Right.
15 years for a leg shot.
But to be fair, okay.
For a leg shot. I did that. I got 3 to 6 in the state.
He was doing some shit that I'm assuming that very few Mafia dudes would ever do, which is that when they went into his phone and they had full access to his Instagram DMs, he was basically like telling dudes where to go stand to sell drugs and shit, right?
MDC has 2,000 cell phones, and they just did a raid. There was 2,000 cell phones in the jail.
Right.
They were getting hits from the 4th floor to the 5th floor. They were sending messages to stab somebody.
Right.
That's how up it is right now.
Yeah.
They're getting RICO charges off cell phones right now.
But I'm talking about when Casanova was on the outside.
Yes.
That stood out to me when I heard about that. It's like, you've already been in, you've already done all this time. How could you have not learned your lesson about using Instagram? Like, there's all kinds of like encrypted apps that would at least give you a fighting chance of not getting caught. Doing it on Instagram is crazy.
I was with Fetty Wap too.
Right.
He got 6 years for a phone call.
Right.
He didn't even do nothing. That's like you asking for money. Say, yo, I need help. Okay, I give you 20,000. He bought fentanyl with it. You're in the conspiracy now.
Really?
He didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm poor guys with him every day. Got 6 years for nothing. Giving his friend money.
But so there wasn't any reason for them to believe that he knew what was going to happen?
He was a gang member, so they tied him in. So basically, he's a blood. You come to me, say, I need 20 grand. I give you 20 grand. You go buy drugs with it. You're going to fucking jail for conspiracy now for funding the fucking drugs.
Right.
Fucking dude's a great guy.
Because that's one of the main things that these rappers will like. It's the easiest thing in the world for them to just proclaim what hood they're from, what set they're from. And to me, that seems like the step one on like a lot of these charges. Is as soon as you can prove that somebody's in a gang, that's like step one of everything that they need to take you down, right?
The other kid, Kay Flock. I'm sure you heard of Kay Flock.
Yeah.
He was in the box with me down in the hole when I was in the hole.
Really?
He shot somebody on Instagram Live.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Well, not on Instagram Live, but it was like captured on security cameras and shit, right?
It was on a fucking live shooting. He was shooting a gun on live. Listen to me. He said he's done. There's no ifs and buts about it. The kid was about to blow up everything. He was in the same block as me when I was in the hole. He was screaming on the gate, I'm taking 30. They're not giving him 30 years. They're going to fucking give him life when he goes to trial. You know what I mean? Yes, the kid has double murders, multiple shootings.
And he was like the hottest rapper coming out of the Bronx.
Yeah, you know, the kid's crazy though.
Yeah.
He's legit nuts.
He's got to be.
Oh, he's fucking nuts. He's beefed with the whole building. They couldn't keep him there.
Really?
They couldn't keep him in the building and move him to Jersey. He's fighting everybody.
What the fuck?
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, there's been quite a few people in recent memory who've like basically killed someone while wearing extremely distinctive pants and shoes, which is kind of mind-blowing again, because you would expect that if you wanted to do something like that, you'd probably try to find the most standard plain black slacks or the black hoodie, whatever. I mean, something simple that would be difficult to
wearing
track
red
down.
Dior is killing someone.
Yeah, no, they're wearing like $1,500 Amiri jeans with all kinds of intricate patches on it. They got unreleased Jordans on, like in the Kay Flock situation specifically. It's insane.
It's crazy. I know.
I mean, these kids, they seem like they just come up in a culture in which killing people is so glamorized, and then self-preservation and like taking the steps to not get caught is almost never emphasized.
They want to get caught.
A lot of times, they want to get. People want that recognition.
They want the recognition. They want it.
They want that. They were part of a murder, and they, but until they get older, and then they're going to be wishing that they, depending on how much time they got, But when they get older, they realize it. When they're 20 years old, they want that recognition of, oh, I got 3 bodies, or I shot this guy, multiple times. And
it's like, even when I was a young hothead, still in my head, the idea of like, oh, if I get caught doing this, I'm going to go to jail for a couple years was always there in my head. So
it wasn't in mine.
When it comes to killing, it's just like, of course, in my head, if I were to do that, that equals out to like, I'm probably going to do 20 plus years. And so to me, it's just so easy to do the math and be like, okay, that's not worth it. You don't even get into a position where you're going to have to even think about doing something like that.
The murder changes everything. It's like you said, a couple of years, who cares, right? You go in there, if you're making money, and again, Mafia, we make money. We're making, we make $5 million. Say you made 10 million, you got 8 put away, you're still making $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. The feds catch you, you got to go to jail for 3 years. We'll take that all day long. Right. What changes everything is when you drop a body. And
that's when they come down on you.
That's when, like, you're sleeping at night, when you go to sleep at night, you put your head on the pillow, everything is good. You're making money, worst come to worst, you get arrested, you go to jail for a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years. You got so much money that your businesses are still supporting your family. Your family's not, wanting for anything. You're coming home. There's no bodies where you're going to have that law enforcement on you where they're never going to stop. Once they know you got a body, they never stop. They'll try to keep hitting you with the 2s and the 3s until they can get you with that the life sentence with the body case. So the difference is, once you drop a body, you go to sleep after that, not the same anymore. Because now what you just said is, now I can go to jail, but it ain't going to be for 2 years. It's the rest of my life. Today I'm going to wake up today, and I'm never going to see my kids. You dropped a body. Is my life over the next time I get arrested? It ain't going to be a 3-year sentence. And then on top of that, the law enforcement heat that you get when you drop bodies, they surveil you 24/7. They put bugs in my cars. Every restaurant I would go to, everywhere you go frequently, they put
Well, tell them what they use. They use terrorism. They use counterterrorism equipment on Mafia. So we were the #1 most priority in the country at one time. So they have unlimited resources. So let's say they're FBI, right? They'll go to their people. We want to take down Anthony Arillotta's crew. You have whatever you want. Well, usually you get a budget. With organized crime, whatever you want, 30 million. I mean, we don't care. Just get them.
You drop bodies. What happened? Like, say John Gotti Sr., right, when he was at the height of his high profile when he was living. It's just like when you drop bodies. We killed a boss of the Western Mass faction of the Genovese family. That brought so much heat. Never mind other murders that we were participated in, and other shootings and other conspiracy to murders. We had so much heat on it that the 4-state area, New York, Connecticut, Providence, and Mass. Anybody that got arrested for some sort of organized crime or even drug crime.
You don't care about the rest of Rhode Island, just Providence?
Well, that's where the stronghold of the Mafia was back then.
Got it.
But anybody that was like a young kid get caught for, like I said, we controlled all the marijuana back then. You get caught for marijuana, they would say, what do you guys know about, myself, Anthony, and his crew? It was like a get out of jail card for them if they got caught with a couple kilos of coke and they were associates of ours. And they say, oh yeah, I could tell you stuff about that crew. That's what happens when you have that notoriety. You get 24/7 surveillance, listening devices in your car. They put listening devices in homes of my crew guys that we went and did the work, the loan shark, the numbers, the sports, and we'd meet every week.
And that kind of shit is stuff that I never heard of when it came to like Bloods and Crips type shit.
Well,
like
now they're doing it.
I don't know. Maybe it does happen.
Now in the 5 boroughs, the gangs, because organized crime fell off kind of. Now they're probably using that stuff. I wouldn't say like what they were using on us, but they're definitely spending more money to get them because they're in the RICO guys. They're in the RICO guys. The organized Italian Mafia in the 5 boroughs is kind of like no more violence.
Right.
And they're the ones committing violence. The gangs are committing the violence.
They're killing the shit out of people. So.
Which they're happy. The prosecutors are happy because those bring the big cases, and they're really not making the money. I mean, the cartels are making the money. The old school drug guys get smart enough to get out of that gang mentality life because now they're making the heavy money, they don't want nothing to do with that gang banging stuff as a young kid, 20, 25 years old. And anybody that's involved in that, if they're still involved in it, they're not making any money. Otherwise, they're gone. Once you start making the big money, what are you doing hanging around corners and hanging around gang banging and shooting a guy because he's wearing a red or blue shirt?
Yeah, because, I mean, that's one thing I've heard about, especially with San Francisco and shit, is that they have, like, migrants who basically will come up from, issued by the cartels and stuff, and they'll be the ones selling all the drugs in a place like Portland or San Francisco, et cetera, and there's no American gangs that are really, involved with this in any way, so they're making millions off of these cities, which have, the worst fentanyl and heroin or whatever.
Everybody's dying. All my friends are dead off fentanyl, yeah.
Right, but then there's no, American counterpart who's partaking in this. They're doing everything.
Stopping them from coming in. These cartels, oh no, you can't deal here. This is our area. But you know why? Because they can't get their hands on those drugs. It's the cartels are the ones getting their hands on it, pushing it too, unless they give it to these big-time drug dealers. Where are they getting it from?
Definitely. Okay. If we were to ask, why are all these kids in Chicago killing each other, people would give us, if you were to go, dig a little bit deeper, you'd end up with, there's no opportunities, these areas are historically impoverished, et cetera. And that kind of makes sense to you of, why these types of kids would end up doing these terrible things to each other. What are the economic conditions, or from your perspective, that led the Italian mafia to becoming what it was? What were the circumstances that made you guys so different than other white people?
So here's the thing. Italians that migrated we had nothing.
Right.
We didn't have shit. When we came over to this country, we were poverty, treated like crap. So we actually were discriminated. We were hungry.
Greaseball.
We were just
gangs,
like the gangs.
Cops used to beat us up. Same thing as they do.
We had nothing.
From a modern perspective, it's hard to imagine that white people could be that split up into different
evolved.
categories.
Yes, but we had nothing when we first came over. My grandfather, they came over, they had holes in it, and nothing. Poverty, poor. So they were doing, that's why they got to that. And then we evolved to make, a lot of money. But when we came over, poor, dirt poor.
And I'll say this, when you said Chicago, when the Italian immigrants came, they weren't ghettos. I lived in you could call it turned into a ghetto. But when I was a young kid, it was a neighborhood. Italian, Irish neighborhood. It wasn't a ghetto. And here's the difference of when you said Chicago, there was no drugs in our neighborhood. So I think that's the big downfall with these people killing each other when these kids growing up is what chance do they got when the whole neighborhood is you got ballers, drug dealers on corners trying to sell drugs. There was none of that when the Italians or immigrants came in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. The Italians in Western Mass, where I grew up, Springfield, we had Italian section all the way up until the early 2000s. You never had the drug presence that it was, up until the 90s that it became. So I think the drug presence is the thing that ruins makes neighborhoods ghettos, makes them crime ridden and all that violence.
But the biggest style of violence in terms of Chicago or whatever are really just these feuds between different neighborhoods in which it just becomes this blood feud where it's you killed one of my guys, so we're going to kill one of your guys, and it just goes back and forth over and over and over for 20 fucking years.
When you're in the feds, you're locked up with everybody, right, all over the world, all over the country, sorry. Even the world sometimes, you get guys from other countries. We were guys out of Chicago. They were shooting each other where it's so hysterical how it's not funny, but the way they operate is crazy. You're sitting on your stoop. You beef with the block over.
Yeah.
They're sitting like ducks.
Yeah.
They're coming over with choppers. Why are you sitting outside? I tell them, if you know these guys got choppers.
Right.
And they're just shooting each other in front of the buildings. What the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on here? You should just have choppers. They keep them on the side of the stoops, and they literally just wait for people to walk by and shoot them. What the fuck is this? I said, this is crazy. It's like almost like a third world country over there.
But that's like not relatable to you. Like it never became like that, where it's like you took one of mine, so we're just going to go back and forth over and over.
Let me explain something about the Mafia where I'll fuck your head up real fast and I'll let him go.
Okay.
Me and you can be best of friends, but you're in a different family. We're at war. We kill each other, right? We start killing each other. The bosses can say, you just killed my best friend, Anthony. Right? You killed my best friend. I want to retaliate on you. The war's over. You can't do nothing. I can't touch her. I got to see you say hello to you. It's over. Once they say it's over, it's over. Yeah. That's it. There's no negotiating. Right. You're at war, you could be shooting each other, best friends. You killed my fucking best friend.
Right.
The next day it's over, you can't do nothing. Can't say a word. Hey, how you doing? You just killed my best friend.
Right.
That's how we are. We're very the laws with us are very strict. Gangs do not have that.
But then somebody clever like you, are you going to be figuring out, how I'm going to pay somebody who's not affiliated with this to kill him?
You got to be careful, man. You're walking on eggshells. You know what I'm saying?
If somebody kills someone in your family, how do you let that go? Really?
Right.
You know, if somebody I don't care if it was me and somebody did that to somebody in my family, I wouldn't care what the boss was. I'd go and kill them as much as I can. Italy is a totally different game because there's a lot of immigrants that came to the Springfield area, Western Mass, from towns in Naples, province, and they had a war going on, and they killed there was the Grazianos versus the Cavas, and that war, they took out 30 members. This was back in the 90s. They were up to 30 members in each family getting murdered by the other faction. They were killing fathers, and they had the woman even involved because the towns were so small that were involved in helping the husbands and be the gangsters. So in Italy, that exists. They shoot at your houses. They don't care if they murder your kids.
We don't operate like that.
Yeah, but so that's the reason I'm bringing that up. Is it's similar to, like you said, you killed one of mine. That all exists in
over there,
Italy. And I think in Canada, they're killing everybody like crazy.
Yeah, Canada's still killing people.
Stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
so I mean that exists, and I think it would exist here. Like if you shoot if somebody shot your brother and he was part of that life, you're going to want revenge on them.
Right.
Where does that? You can't get away. Especially if you're a killer.
Yeah.
If you killed somebody and someone shot your son, let's just say, you're not letting that go.
Right. Yeah, because that, whenever we try to have conversations with dudes from Chicago about how this could eventually sort of resolve itself or get to the point where it's less murderous, you just end up with people who just seem like they don't have any hope that this could ever sort of settle itself, just because there's too many people who died on each side of it. And even recently we had a very high profile thing where two guys who are successful that don't have to be in the mix in terms of street shit, Lil Durk and then FYB J Mane, they got on the phone and they actually were discussing pushing peace in Chicago. And at first you see a ton of positivity about it, and then as a little bit of time goes by, you start to see more and more people popping up talking shit to the person in this conversation who seems more like they're the one who took the L.
There's no peace with Lil Durk, I don't think. I'm sorry, I follow that stuff.
Okay, but this is the thing. Lil Durk, it's easier for him to say pushing peace and that it's all good because they're perceived as being the ones who killed more of the other side than vice versa. So it's kind of he could maintain his rep and say it, but you see a lot of people popping out who want to shit on J Mane for being open to this. But that's what I keep saying is if there's ever going to be anything resembling peace, even just between these two sides, there's going to have to be one side that kind of makes it clear, look, we might not necessarily be winning this situation, but we're still going to take a step back and say, okay, we're going to try to be part of the solution.
You're on TikTok, I'm sure, right?
For sure.
I think Lil Durk put up a picture of him and all his friends. He's the only one alive.
Yeah.
Out of the picture, there was 9 of them. He's the only one alive. They're all 20-some years old.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Okay?
Yeah.
Fucks your head up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I don't really follow a lot of that stuff, but like you're saying, this Lil Durk, he's he's killed people and had people killed and all that, right?
I wouldn't say that, but he's definitely rapped about all that shit so much, and he's been associated with a lot of people who are verified
his best
killers.
friend was King Von.
Right,
exactly.
I mean,
the guy was smoking everybody.
And how long is he going to last for then?
But he's a superstar. He's huge. Millions of dollars. because he's able to have the security around him, etc.
That's even worse. That's even more. You don't think John Gotti was worth hundreds of $100 million?
$500 million.
I mean, they still went after him.
Yeah.
But the difference with him is that he's at least could be completely clean of anything street related at this point. And he could just make music.
But like you said, if he's dropping those bodies,
murders,
told somebody to do them back then. Somebody had to commit the murders.
I wouldn't say that. Nobody talks about him as if he was the one actually killing people. You know, so it's more like he's probably the voice box of that. Although who knows what happened back in the day, you know. But it does seem like in Chicago, like if someone was a killer, usually it's pretty out in the open. Their reputation usually precedes them.
Shit.
Yeah,
I think that's the worst gang state. I think
Chicago.
I would say Chicago or LA.
Yeah.
Well, New York's getting really bad right now too.
New York is insane. Yeah.
New York's getting really bad right now. Actually, the Bronx is like bad.
Exactly, and that's one thing I've heard academics say, which I found pretty interesting over the years, is that the government allowed Chicago to become this fucking war zone, but when you start talking about New York City, this is just a place where so much important business and so much of the high life takes place that the cops, like, I mean, you know, just like we know, New York City cops have funding way beyond the wildest dreams of most states in America. Like, they're going to fucking take care of problems. They're way more aggressive with shutting shit down than almost any other state.
Right.
So, like, there's a
We're
belief.
the trendsetters.
Yeah, well, there's a belief that, like, the drill scene will never be able to, like, fully prosper in New York because they won't allow this kind of stuff. Well, I mean, it'll probably prosper just with less murder and more people getting locked up earlier on.
Just got killed. What's his name? Paul. They were just talking about it. He was talking about people getting killed all the time. They just killed him 2 days ago.
Fulio.
Yeah,
from Florida. Yeah.
Another rapper just got killed. You know, it's what goes on. You know what I mean? So, you know, they talk about it in their music. The feds are listening. Right. They use it in court cases. You know what I mean? Right. So, you know, it's only a matter of time.
Do you feel like you're somebody who was kind of influenced by the way that, you know, street gangs are doing stuff? Because there's a Rio the Young OG lyric that kind of reminds me of you. He said they started shooting up houses. They took the fun out of it.
I shot a house before. I have
done
that.
A lot of times you said you put like 90 rounds into a fucking
30.
house.
I did. I put 30 rounds into a house. But you know what? I got in big trouble for that. But I mean, I was sent to get him and I couldn't get him. But yeah, I was told that I dressed like a rapper. And they didn't like that, my people.
Right now I can see that. Yeah.
Yes, they told me. They says, you know, what the fuck? You dress like a rapper. I had a different swag. You know, the modern day guys, we kind of like, he wears suits, his era. Our era didn't wear suits. We were more like the all proud, you know, like all the fashion. So we kind of related with the rappers more because that was our era. You know, I talk with a strong accent. I still dressed a little different. You know what I mean? Right. So, you know.
But something like shooting up a house is like kind of like a more modern invention, right?
Well, they tried to kill me on the highway. They shot my friend through her neck. He went to Italy hiding from me. I tried to lure him back from Italy, and I sprayed his house up with a Tech 9. That's how I got him, you know. Told me you don't want to come back? All right. We're going to shoot your house up every week then.
Is that something you ended up having to confess to?
Yeah.
Or in the proffer agreement, right?
Because you know what happened was, they says he did a gang. I'm not gonna say what they said. He did a gang member move. You do a gang member move.
Yeah, well, I heard you say that in another interview. I'm not gonna say.
I can't say.
Is it N-word thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So they says you did that work. You did that move. Right. You go do that move. And I says, all right. They says go bring him back. He wants to shoot. My friend was an innocent person. He wasn't a gangster. Right. Shot to his fucking throat. My other friend got shot in his back. They were trying to kill me on a highway. They shot into a car, 8 bullets. You don't do that. You wait for the guy to get out his house or, you know, move on him the right way.
And that's probably what you wish we did.
You don't do that. You fucking shot my innocent friend to the fucking throat. Now is no holds bars. I went to the people, they says, do what the fuck you want. And that's how we got him back. I threw half a stick of dynamite in his brother's trunk with his brother in the car.
Wow.
You know pineapple? There's M80 Blockbuster pineapple. I threw a half a stick of dynamite in his pickup truck with him in it. Because there was no holds bar. Because you did grimy shit. So they says, go. Bring him back from Italy.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I was only 20 years old, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was a kid.
And do you feel like if you had made it through that period of time in your late teens or early 20s that you would have maybe like cooled off without having to necessarily go sit down?
No.
It was just in you?
Yeah.
You think you were just born to be that kind of guy?
I was bad. Because, you know, I didn't come from a bad family. Right. I didn't need. I wanted. You know what I mean? I didn't need. I had everything I wanted. I wanted more. I was just a bad kid in school. I would stab kids with pencils, hit them with chairs. It was just a bad kid. There's just nothing I could do. My dad was like that. It's just it's almost in like your DNA. Like, you know, this kid's just gonna be bad. You know what I mean? So, and the Mafia took all. You know, they seen me. You know, I'm 18 years old. You know, stabbing kids. You know, doing things. So, you know, you get like you said, you get noticed. This kid's a fucking wild kid. Have him collect money for us.
It's a wild business to be in, though, because me seeing somebody who's got
think about
a
this,
willingness to do that much violence, I'm also looking at them like they're so hot-headed. Why the fuck would I trust them?
They love that. But let me ask you a question for this. Ready? A 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid making $3,000 a week.
Right.
Think about that. I have no education. I have a ninth grade education.
You're feeling yourself.
I have no education. My brothers who went to college and all this stuff ain't making no money.
When you're that age, you think that you know everything, and if you're making $3,000 a week, then you're thinking, well, I'm making more money than my teachers, my parents, etc.
Then I'm making $10,000 a week.
Yeah.
And I'm making $40,000 a month as a 26-year-old kid.
Right.
Think about that. I'm making sometimes $40,000, $50,000 a month doing nothing.
And your bosses are all murderers.
All murderers.
So it's not like
it's like I'm the man. People look at us like celebrities. You understand that where we're from? Literally, they're like, oh, he's with that guy, that crew. They're like gods. You know what I mean? So it's like you start thinking you're above the world.
But
you know what I mean?
okay, New York City is one of the worst places to carry a firearm illegally.
We're all carrying. I never not had a gun on
Yeah,
me.
is every mafia guy just always got it on him?
The gun guys were. I never not had. If you know anyone that knows me that watches this podcast right now, I confessed to 17 shootings. Okay, I loved pistols. I was a gun guy. I carried on me 24/7. One under my car, one on me. That's how I was. I loved
Under
guns.
your car?
Under the seat and one on me.
Yeah.
So I had one in the car, 9mm Beretta, 16 shots, and I had a 380 or 38 on my body.
But so are you just catching gun cases all the time? 'Cause
No,
the cops are pulling you over or what?
No, see, in our area, it's a beautiful neighborhood.
Right.
They're not balling us. They're not in the hood. We're in a house. Houses worth $3 million. We're driving around in brand new cars, Rolexes. You know what I'm saying? We look like rich kids, but we're not. We're criminals.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But how are you guys kind of avoiding getting on the radar of the cops at that
Because the
point?
FBI's there, not the cops.
Oh, okay.
They want you to fucking do that. They sit back. They watch you. They let you. They build cases. They'll investigate you for what, 7 years, 8 years, and they'll come lock you up.
Usually it's 18 months, and then 24.
And then 20 months.
So it goes 5 years, and then they can go in another extension.
Okay, but when you guys say like that the mafia doesn't exist like it used to, and there's been all these measures put into place to crack down on it and stuff, from my perspective, I look at a lot of the street gang stuff in Chicago or LA, and it feels like none of that shit has happened with those communities in comparison. Now, sometimes you will hear about like, oh yeah, like there was this era that so many indictments came down, and the cops are definitely doing things to try to take them out. But why was there such a concerted focus on the mafia?
We're gonna end it with just one word.
Sure.
They get all right. So you're a prosecutor, right? You prosecute gangs. You don't get promoted. Nothing happens to you. You prosecute organized crime. You become the fucking president.
Yeah.
A fucking judge, politician. Right. They're the biggest case in the country. Every prosecutor's dream is to have a mafia case because they become somebody off of us. Anybody that's somebody in the 70s and 80s and 90s is because of organized crime cases. Giuliani, all these guys that became somebodies is because they prosecute Italian mafia.
But you can say the same thing now about the people who are prosecuting cases like street gang stuff with like rappers and shit. Like I'm sure that YSL Young Thug Rico, that's got to be the huge thing for the people involved, right? Think about when you prosecute
John Gotti, the biggest crime figure in the world.
Right.
I mean, the gangs are doing the violence, but the Italian mafia was 1,000 times more money-wise than they were making. And, like up until the 90s, they were involved they were everywhere. I think like over 15 major states had the presence of the mafia. So the money that was involved, it was a global organization.
Right.
From Italy, they would have different types. They had the Ndrangheta, they had the Camorra, and they would go to Germany, they would go to Argentina, it was a global organization. So I don't think you have gangs who's on a street corner and it's a lot less, a lot of violence.
Yeah, selling small amounts of drugs and then killing each other.
And they have a lot of
not as impactful numbers. From the viewpoint of the government, right?
They have numbers,
right?
And they have guns, and their main racket is drugs, whereas the mafia had 15 street rackets going on, and they still messed around with drugs. But the difference is they messed around with drugs like on the higher level. So when the mafia messed with drugs, it filtered down to where it got to the street level gangs. Right. We're dealing with multi-kilos of, say, coke and heroin. And those levels get to a middleman who eventually get it to a street guy who eventually breaks it down and gives it to his guys. And
so you guys are working with like black street gangs.
I did.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're not supposed to.
That's not that's forbidden.
No, I did too. I had a robber. I was a known armed robber. I was a big heist guy. I had Brinks trucks, brewery stores. That was my thing. I loved to steal. Now, organized crime really didn't approve of home invasions, which I did on drug dealers and people. They don't like that, but I've done them. And I had a robbery team. and I would use gang members.
Right.
And I would use Latin Kings, Bloods, and Crips, and you could never put them on record with you and say they're with me.
Right.
But you could use them on the side on the low.
Is the rule that you're not allowed to really fuck with people that are outside your race, or is it
No,
more
but
just
you
like
just-
doing these specific actions with other gang members?
Right, you can't.
I got made into the family when at the induction ceremony. I was told if I fuck around with drugs or counterfeit money, I forfeit my life. So that was the thing with drugs, and I got made in 2003.
Right.
So that existed up until then, which they're a bunch of hypocrites anyways, because
they
the
all
bosses of our family got arrested in 57s, in the 50s for major heroin dealers.
But you will
And
die for
throughout
dealing
that time,
drugs.
they had
So
the
many
pizza
people have been killed over
connection
drugs.
in the 80s. They had the big pizza
Yeah.
connection case, all heroin coming in, dealing with the mafia families. But yeah, so there was a rule. I was told I almost got killed back in the mid 90s. And it was only for marijuana. I got my house raided for like 40 pounds of marijuana. And in Massachusetts, it's a misdemeanor, 50 pounds or under, not in a school zone. It's a misdemeanor charge. You won't even go. You probably get probation, if that. And my boss wasn't involved in it, and he was worried that they were going to clip him because they thought that he was involved with me making a profit in them drug deals. So they took it serious in the drug business. But yeah, that was we weren't allowed to. Which I did anyways, but you weren't allowed to sell drugs.
I was robbing drug dealers like crazy, extorting them.
Yeah, that's
we were
another
doing
thing, too,
I was
robbing.
terrorizing them. We terrorized them.
We did too.
You seem like you just wanted to get a lot of extracurricular activities in there, right?
I was a violent guy. I was a wild guy. I have ADD, ADHD. I was bipolar. I have a lot of chemical imbalances. I was just a bad kid, and I was always in some shit. I beefed with everybody.
Right.
That was like my thing.
Definitely.
I had multiple attempts on my life. You know what I mean? At least 5.
Really?
Yeah, and everybody gets shot but me. It's fucked up.
Jesus.
I know.
Okay, I have a question. You guys get locked up. Do you just automatically have to be clicked up with a bunch of fucking white supremacists, or are you guys kind of in your own
hell
little thing?
I'm in Rikers Island, bro. No
Right.
white supremacists in there. You can't
Okay.
have a SWAT
And
seat. You
that's
can't
New
take your
York.
shirt off.
And
You know
that
what I mean?
state, like he's in state, New York, the state of New York, which is a lot bigger, obviously, state
Yeah.
New York City. Rikers Island's like
It's a horror show.
It's bad. But in Mass, it's totally different. I've been going to prison since 1990 at the age of 21. And it's totally different. Like organized crime, there's a ton of crazy Irish in Mass, and they're organized criminals, just like the Italians. And the presence of them in the Massachusetts state prison, they have more of a presence and a dangerous presence than the other criminals, blacks, Spanish. Multiple murders back then in the 70s, 80s. They were dropping bodies in Walpole, Mass, and everything. So the president in the state prison system, Mass, and I tell this to everybody, him and other guys that were in New York, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, their prison system isn't like Mass. It's more, I guess, the gang presence
Chaotic.
and everything. And
Rikers Island is like the street. It's just chaotic. You literally can't sit in a chair without fighting for it.
the first guy he showed me is, you get a disciplinary report, the D report, and he shows it to me, and the D report was for murder. They gave him a D report.
Yeah,
and
they
the
don't
charge
care.
was murder.
They don't give
And
a
that
fuck.
was I met another kid. He was like 5'5". He had 7 bodies. The Irish kid, 7 bodies alone, just while he was in prison. Just in prison alone. They were sending guys in. He said, I just got a word from the street. Whitey Bulger. Whitey wants this guy dead. He's a rat. He's this. He's that. They would stab the guy up 85 times. They'd have everybody on the tier stab him. Next guy would come in, same thing. Whitey says this guy's no good. He's a rapist. He fucked around with a girl. Same thing. They stab him 100 times.
It's crazy.
Finally, after the 5th one, they said this guy's crazy. He's like he just loves killing. Nobody's giving him messages about this and that. They checked out there, and this guy was just a psychotic, 5'5", maybe 120 pounds soaking wet in a psychopathic murder.
Wow.
Yeah, I was only like 21, at the time, and I got introduced to him. And my friend at the time, Brian Goodman, big time actor out here in LA, he made it big. Irish hood back in the day. He says, yeah, when you see him, he said, say hello and goodbye. Don't get too friendly with him. Because he was the type, he had one of those paranoia, schizophrenic personalities, and he ended up wanting to kill you.
And so they were going to just leave him in there and just let him keep killing people? Or?
That's how it was. It was like Walpole was one of the worst prisons in the country.
They didn't really have a system in place by which if you kill enough people while you're locked up, they're going to do something to you?
Kevin Roach, he was a part of the brand, you know, that when they arrested everybody, TJ, Bingham, and all those guys with the brand, that big federal case. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Sounds familiar.
All the they're like the Aryan Brotherhood, but the head of them is called the brand.
Okay.
They were like the head white supremacy. And when you fuck up in Mass, or probably in any state, but when you're a badass, you're killing, dropping bodies in prison, they ship you out to the feds. And that's what happened with Kevin. They shipped him out to a federal prison. He got with the brand. They ended up killing like 27 people on their indictment. They indicted them all. And they pled guilty. They had like 24 or 27 bodies. They had to bring them into court. These were the most dangerous. They had a war back with the DC blacks. On-site war with the DC blacks. They were just killing each other. I think in like most of them was with that war. And they pled to like 24, 27 murders. And when they brought them into the courtroom, they were chained to the ground. You know, it was a huge trial. So Kevin Roach was a Massachusetts inmate. He killed too many people in Mass. They shipped him to the feds. So that's the answer.
Feds don't play, man.
You know,
But you guys haven't done that much Fed time, Commander?
I did.
You did, right?
It's horrible. I was in the hole most of the time. It sucks, man. In the hole, they could just put you in an investigation for 6 months. You're just sitting there. I was drawing people on the wall, talking to them. I was saying, you lose your mind in there.
6 months of nothingness.
Nothing. I did. It's horrible.
Right.
I did not. I just on my violation. I did most of it in the hole.
We were together.
I was together with him in Farrington. But I'm
saying.
saying, I was always in the box. It's horrible. You lose your mind in there.
But what were you doing in there that made them want to put you in
Fight,
solitary?
anything. You know, I beat up a guy for Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah. What, can you tell that story? Because that's like very recent. Like he was only locked up for like the last year.
I was with him in MDC
right?
Brooklyn. Yeah.
and somebody was just fucking with
the
him?
guy I beat up was actually the one that killed DJ Khaled's nephew.
What the fuck?
DJ Khaled's nephew got pistol whipped, remember, in the Bronx? And he got shot in the head.
Okay.
I fought that kid. Juice. He was a blood kid. He came in there, he was trying to, like, he wasn't like, he was like trying to friendly extort him. And I was telling him, you're good in here. This is a safe environment. We're in a high profile unit with all high profile people. Me, Fetty Wap, Attorney General of Mexico, the President of Honduras, like just huge people. And he's in there because he was in a dropout yard and he couldn't survive in there. So anyway, he comes in the unit and he's trying to bother like Sam Bankman, to like, oh, you got to send me money, or, you know, just trying to like bother him. And I says, yo, you're good. Don't worry about that. And he heard I was telling him that, and he pulled me over. And he's like, yo, don't. I says, bro, who the fuck you talking to? And he swung at me, and then I scraped him. I got the fine ticket. I had a 224 assault, bro. I almost got a new charge.
Oh, Jesus.
And he started with me. He swung at me first, but I get the 224.
Right.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't stop. You know what I mean? And then I went to the hole for that, and then I did like 87 days in that motherfucker.
Wow.
And went home from the hole. I was on a violation.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I did it for him, for Sam Bankman.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So when did you, like, I'm pretty familiar with how you ended up kind of exiting. You basically got locked up in the feds and you slowly got more and more disgruntled by the bad treatment that you were getting from the family that you're from and everything. They didn't want to get you a lawyer. Right.
My own cousin wore a wire on me. My cousin's husband wore a wire on me.
Right.
Multiple people cooperated against me. I'm facing an asshole full time. I got a state, Florida, and federal conspiracy. They had to roll in my evidence. They had to roll it in. It was a fucking wiretap indictment, 15,000 pages. They rolled it in. And I says, you know, you're not going to, they wouldn't give me a lawyer. And, you know, finally 19 months, I threw in the flag.
Right.
You know?
And had you ever thought that might have been a possibility when you were out on the streets? No, it never even crossed your mind?
No, not a fucking chance. No.
And did you just start to have like an epiphany of like, wow, I fucking wasted a large percentage of my life on this bullshit.
On the bullshit.
And this whole religion that they were shoving down my throat of being a gangster.
I had it on my arm, bro.
Right.
I got the oath on my arm, bro.
You slowly
I
started
lived
to
and
lose
breathed this
faith
shit,
in
bro.
that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was sad, you know what I mean? But I seen my people turn on me, and it was just sad, man. And a federal lawyer, and he told my mother what happened to all his money. Bro, you're worth $35 million on paper. You're worth $35 million. They had him as worth, net worth. I seen $2 million in cash from this guy. You can't give me $150K for a fucking attorney.
Right.
You fucking make that in your sock. You got it in your sock drawer. I took it as an insult. I'm shooting guys for this guy in broad daylight. I'm doing crazy shit for this guy. It was right hand man. 19 months in, the feds came to see me. He says, it's your last opportunity. You're going to die in prison. We have you on everything. You're indicted. Da, da, da.
You think that was actually your last opportunity?
Yeah.
Or they were just saying
I don't
that?
know. I just
They would
know
have kept coming back to you over the years, right?
you never know. I don't know. You know, you get mad sometimes because I kept turning them down.
Right.
I sat up in Rikers in the worst houses. I was with La Brim. I was with all the big guys in Rikers Island. They were all in there in 2015, 2016. When the Bloods and the Hounds had the war, I'm in the middle of it.
You ever hear about a killer in New York City known as China Mac?
China Mac. I mean, I was with all of them. I know all of them, but I was with Diff, Jade. I was with every hound you could think of, all these crazy nuts. And I'm in the worst houses. And I'm literally like saying, like, I'm fighting with people. I didn't get along with Latin Kings. I didn't like them. I was fighting with them constantly. I had a hit on my head from them. I couldn't go through the hallways because I popped on one of their leaders. So, you know, I was just living a crazy life. And then my mother kept saying, what are you going to do? You're going to die in prison? These guys won't even help you.
Right. So wait, what are the specifics of what you had to do? You had to just basically tell them everything and then you get out and you're
no,
good?
No, don't work like that.
No, okay.
You cop out to your, let me tell you how the government works. You cop out to your top charges.
Okay.
So the worst things you did in your life. And then you go in front of a federal judge after the case is over and it's up to him. There's no promises. You cop out to 30 to life, 100 to life, life plus life, and then with the 5K letter, the judge could do whatever he wants. He has the right to give you a day, 100 years, 3 years. It's all in the judge's hands.
So this is just a crazy gamble from your perspective.
Yes, it is. But remember, me and him are part of like super high profile cases.
Yeah, they don't offer that to
like,
everybody.
listen, I'll be honest with you. They seized like I had one of the biggest organized crime cases of my time. My boss's house was worth $3.2 million. They took it. Like, you know, you're talking like mega money, super high profile in the paper every day.
Stuff they're dying to solve.
Vinny Asaro just beat the Latanza case. It was the biggest upset in the Eastern District history of a courthouse. He had the more media attention than any mob case ever in the history. He charged the Latanza heist and the murders. He beat it. Found not guilty on all charges. So this is my case. Right. So it's like, you know, you go in front of the judge and you kind of know you're good. But I still did 63 months on that. They still want the time out of me because I had so much violence. Right. You know what I mean?
And so
much.
What's your game plan once you come home?
That was the great thing. You see, I didn't have one. And what happened was that we're so glamorized. I wrote a book.
Right.
And the book became a fucking bestseller.
Right.
And everyone's like, yo, books don't sell no more. I sat down with Teddy DiVittorio, who we were both with. Teddy was a hitman.
The Chicken Man.
He was he blew up the Chicken Man, Philly Tester in Philadelphia. He's a known hitman for the Philly. And he wrote the book with me. And we sat down and he's like, books don't sell no more. I came home, I put the book out. I started the podcast called The Johnny and Gene Show. Right. With Johnny A-Light. Johnny A-Light was a hitman for John Jr. and John Gotti.
Well, he's the dude who you had your first Vlad TV appearance with, right?
I came on with him, introduced the whole world. Wow, I'm the only modern day guy out here ever, really. That's really out here.
Oh, so you are kind of unique in that way. You're the main dude who's out here telling the story. I'm the only modern day guy. Okay. So the book came out. It sold over 15,000 copies, you know, and that was it. I just took off from there, man, and never looked back. Right. And it just blew up, and I just became, you know, really popular and known all over the world, bro. Okay. I get fan mail from Japan, bro. Right. I get fan mail from Japan, bro. Yeah. Everywhere over the country you could think of. Name a country, I get fan mail. Right. And that's how it just became, and the government didn't like it, and they violated me like multiple times over it. And so what did they give you a violation for?
Anything they could. They were so mad that I was glamorized.
You felt like they felt like you were making the
money
whole thing look kind of goofy?
No, that I was making them. No, that I basically was being loved for being a bad guy. Right. Like you're glamorizing what you did to people. You have victims. You have people that are hurt them bad. You're glamorizing. We weren't. We're just telling our story, and people loved it.
And they're okay with you doing that when you're 60 years old, but they don't want you doing that when you're fresh out of there, right?
There you go. And I was on probation, and they own you. You know what I mean? So that was the problem. And they violated me multiple times. If it wasn't for the judge that I had, I'd be done. Really? I had Judge Block. He's like the best known judge.
So they could have violated you and then just thrown you back in and be like,
no, they wanted 5 years. Wow. He wouldn't do it. Kept giving me 90 days, 6 months. Right. Wouldn't do it.
That's got to be brutal going and doing 90 days after you thought that you were free, right?
I did 20-something months in violations.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. They restarted my probation.
It's insane.
I just got done in September after doing 8 months in jail.
So, okay. That makes sense then.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. I've been on parole, probation, jail since I'm 18, bro. I got done at 39. They owned me for 21 years almost, the system. You know what I mean? So it's like, now I'm happy. Now I have a TV show in the works. You know, I met this guy, Matt Philippine. He's a great actor. He's Mark Wahlberg stunt double, Eminem stunt double, Jason Statham stunt double. He's in TV shows. And he contacted me 2 years ago, and he goes, Gene, I'm telling you, your book could be a TV show. Right. I said, I hear it all the time. Now we're here. It's fucking happening.
Right. Yeah, because when I seen that clip of you on Vlad 4 or 5 years ago, you were wearing a suit.
I just came out the hole.
Straight up. You got the
I look
shaved
crazy.
head. You look so like clean cut. Yeah.
Yeah, just came out of jail. I was just out the hole. I was 100. I was sick looking.
Yes, you look kind of traumatized.
Yeah, I was. I never did this before in my life. I was a notorious gangster. Now I'm just sitting on Vlad TV. I was all fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
You were looking very pale in that clip compared to right now.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So, everything changed for the good. And, I have so much opportunity. I got reached out again by Netflix. They want me in movies. They love my charisma. They love the way I am. People say I have the it factor. I have talked to actors and friends, and people it clicked, man.
Yeah.
And, everything went in my favor, should I say. And the government didn't like it.
Wow. Crazy.
And they came at me hard, bro.
So are you holding back on certain opportunities because you don't want to violate again?
No, I'm off. I'm clean now. I'm doing everything now. I can do what the fuck I want now.
Okay.
Yeah, I maxed out. Judge Block said I'm terminating with 8 months.
Wow.
And I did the 8 months. I terminated. I'm done.
Amazing. So, okay, how did you go through this process of deciding that you wanted to do what you had to do?
So, like I said, the boss is of our area, Western Mass, is from New York, one of the 5 families, Genovese family. At that time, there was an alignment that was going to get changed in New York. One of the bosses was going to prison for 5 years. He wanted his guy to take over, Artie Nigro, to take his position. They were using a panel at the time. Vincent DeChin was in prison. In prison. Quiet Dom was under indictment, so they were using a panel. This guy, one of the bosses of the that was there, wanted to put Artie there. They didn't want him, and he ends up getting the position because the boss won his, the decision to put him. He ends up becoming the boss of the Western Mass, Connecticut faction of the Genovese family, which makes him our bosses. When that happened, that was the demise of the Genovese family outside of New York. He put us with a guy that was a known informant, John Bologna. We were told by multiple factions, the Patriarcha family, we were told by the Gambino bosses that this guy, John Bologna, was an informant. Where there was a faction in Western Mass that said that this guy was an informant. He knew he caused havoc in our area. Like I said, we never gave money to New York. Once Artie took over as boss, Al Bruno was who I was very close with. He was the boss of our area, Western Mass. They had us. They were going to take him down because they wanted to orchestrate like a coup and take the money where they could line their own pockets with. So they did all that. They destroyed. They were taking guys away from made guys, big time earners, guys that put in work, multiple murders taken away from him. The guy was an informant. I asked my boss, which then that's when he had me go down, shoot the guy in New York, over a union beef. That's how I ended up getting made into the family. Come to find out that this guy was right. He was an informant. He knew about multiple murder conspiracies that I was involved in, and we get indicted, and it comes out that he wore a wire on me. And then while I'm in prison I'm facing a death penalty case. I get the best lawyer. I had the best lawyer in my area, but I get the best lawyer one of the best lawyers, criminal defense attorneys, John Mitchell. He represented Gotti and all the big time guys. He comes up to see me. Now, the modern day mafia bosses end up cooperating today. It's not a unbelievable thing where that happens. And they do it in a way. It came out that Carmen Persico, front page of the newspaper, that he was an informant all this time. They're not going to put. Now, I don't believe he was an informant, but I believe he knew that Scarpa was an informant, because that's what they do. They put somebody else up to be the informant. That's what guys in my area do. That's what bosses do, and that's the game that they play today. So I'm in prison. I'm second on the indictment, and John Mitchell says New York is worried sick. He says Artie's not in the prison system. He was doing 5 years, and he wasn't in the system, the BOP locator. They couldn't find him. Now, it was enough time for him to come up and visit me and tell me. They said, well, if they're worried sick, what should I be? I'm second on the indictment. I face a death penalty case. And, it was a hard decision, but at the end, I had little kids, 5 years, 6 years old, and this guy's going to put me in jail because he put me with this guy, wouldn't let me kill him when I asked to kill him. I said, send the guy up, you'll never see him again. And wouldn't allow that to happen. And so that's how everything unfolded.
Right. So, I guess there's like two ways to look at it. Like, do you feel like by telling that you guys did some bitch ass shit, or do you feel like the game itself became a bitch ass game that you didn't really like respect or want to like honor anymore?
Let me just
I like
tell you
that
this
question.
real quick.
Yeah,
I'll
go.
just tell you this real quick. Listen, I think it takes more balls, and it's more of a bitch ass shit if you throw away your family, your little kids, right? Because they can call you a 3-letter word, right? But you threw all your family away, your kids. You don't think your kids want you home with them? They don't know nothing about the life you lived. If you could have made a decision and been home with them, I think that's what the ballsy moves is, especially if you do what we did and come right back to our area. What's more ballsy than that? You got the army. You guys are the gangsters. You guys are the killers. Come do what you're supposed to do.
So you guys both moved back to the exact area?
In my house that I grew up in.
Adam, I'm like that, Adam. I'm not trying to put on a show for nobody. I'm like that. Everyone knows that. You shoot me in my legs, you're fucked. Like, I'm never going to stop.
If you ask us if it was back in the day and
I'm
it was
killing
on
you.
the other foot, I'm going to kill you.
I'm smoking you. That's why I told them they're pussies.
I pled guilty to murder and informants.
Yeah.
Right? So they have their chance. So that, and to me, if you're saying bitch ass shit, then come kill us.
Right.
That's more ballsy.
Come get me.
You can call me a name all you want. The fake trolls that watch this and do the hateful things would fake out, fake things and everything. That's what they do.
Right.
But do your gangster stuff and come do it then.
Well, Adam, think about this. I just signed into a movie called Pony. I'm in a fucking I'm in a real movie, Hollywood film. I'm in a real movie. Like, I never thought I'd be here.
Yeah.
From all of this to this, you know what I'm saying?
Especially when they line up rats against us. Like, I had 5 made guys. Ray Ruggiero, made guy in the Genovese family. Felix Tringhese, made guy in the Genovese family. John Bologna, Frankie Roach, a shooter. You had 4 guys that put you with a direct murder. They lined them up on you. And then Artie's not in the system, maybe orchestrating what this guy was up to. And then you're going to get led to the slaughterhouse to throw your life away. I'd rather roll the dice and say, come shoot me.
Right.
And roll the dice and come out like that way.
No,
And by the way, we don't know if we're coming out.
And don't forget, I can shoot back too.
Adam, and his thing, you don't know if you're coming out. Like, I'm not understanding. You get an agreement, but you don't know. I've seen guys that cooperate still got 20 years.
Really? Wow.
You still get 20. You don't know what you're going to get. You're still killing people and doing horrible crimes. The judge can say, I'm not letting this guy back out. I'm giving him time.
Right.
You don't have to get time served. You know what I'm saying? It's up to the fucking judge. Prosecutor can't do shit. It's out of their hands. It's up to a federal judge. They have all the say.
Right.
So there's no guarantee you're getting out that day.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's up to that judge. If he says, no, I want him to do more time, you do more time. That's
Right.
it. So,
A lot of guys fuck up too, and they get their ripped up. And like the guy I'm telling you about that was put with me and was an informant, he didn't tell him about another murder that we did.
You ratted for no reason.
So he got his deal ripped up. He wasn't even going to do 1 day in prison. He ended up dying in prison.
Whoa. Just
it.
because he left one murder out?
You
left
can't
the
leave
murder out.
nothing out. Bro,
Was that him just being forgetful, or was he trying to avoid
This guy,
that?
you don't know this guy was trying to be like, he used to read all those books, Sun Tzu and 48 Laws of Power and Machiavelli, and he thought he was like this genius, and
Right.
in the king's ear you become the king. And so he was playing the feds like he was going to tell him enough, and then just in case they gave him some time, then he says, I'm older, I forgot about this and that. He had like another thing, a card he could play to get himself out of
And
prison.
also think about this, Adam, and I'm going to hit you with
And
this.
that's the scumbags that guy put us with.
Usually the guys that do what we did are the worst guys in the crew. So think about that. You're an earner, and they go kill Crazy Gene. Fuck you go. This motherfucker's a psychopath. I never did nothing. This kid's a lunatic. So it's like, you have guys that'll still do shit, but it's like, usually the guys that do what we do are the worst guys in the crew. Usually the ones that got the worst charges. The murders, the shootings, the crazy shit, hitting people with hatchets. I can tell you shit that'll make your head fall off your shoulders. Going to people's businesses, hitting them with fucking tire irons, all kind of crazy shit that I was doing. They weren't doing it. They were sending me. So what, you think I'm just going to let you fucking walk up to me and abuse me? Guys don't say shit to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm not no regular dude, motherfucker. What do you think? Because I cooperate, abracadabra, good guy? You're not going to just abuse me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be nice. Come up to me. You're on a fucking street guy. Get the fuck out of my face.
Right.
I still get into fist fights all the time in Tampa over regular shit.
Okay.
I'm still rowdy. I'm still who I am. But
So now you live in Tampa, though?
I live in Tampa.
Okay.
I was in New York. I was in my old neighborhood for 2 years.
But you ever run into anybody in Florida who gives a fuck
Absolute-
about what you had going on up
No,
there?
they love
Nobody
me. They
gives
take
a
pictures
fuck.
with me.
Right.
They hug me. They love me. They think everything's so cool and all this stuff. But it's like they glorify us.
Right.
And the mob is so dead and everyone's a rat. But you got guys ratting over fucking 3 years. I was trying to cop out to 20 years, Adam. Adam, they wouldn't give it to me. I said, I'll take 20 right now. You're not getting 20.
Right.
I would have took 20.
Well, it's kind of this is kind of reminiscent of when 6ix9ine got out. Everybody thought that the Bloods were going to kill him right away.
He's hanging out with gang members again. They love him.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Shit's over. I'm telling you, it's all about
They
money
asked
now.
the guy that's doing the podcast, what's his name, the boss, the Philly guy,
Joey Molino.
They asked him, now he was a boss.
Straight up boss of the family.
And he's doing podcasts now. What's that tell you about what the Mafia is today?
It's dead.
He's a boss, and he couldn't make it as a mobster no more, and now he's in the podcast business,
Right.
which is good. But that goes to show you. They asked him, what percentage do you think are informants? So this is coming from a supposedly active Mafia guy. He said 90, I think it was, 98% he said?
You have guys that are on probation.
Informants.
Hey, listen, you could be a
This
made
is coming
guy.
from a guy that's like an active guy that's supposedly mob
You
boss.
come home, right? You did 8 years. You got no money. You're not making money. The FBI go, you want to be an informant? We won't even let you know. We'll give you $1,000 a week. Just tell us what's going on.
Right.
Straight up. You got so many of those that's going on right now in organized crime because there's nothing going on. You're not paying with your life no more. There's no consequence. They don't give a fuck.
But do you think that the feds or the government in general has the Mafia under control enough at this point that they're basically happy with it? They have it to the point where there's still stuff going on, but they feel like they can kind of step in and stop
There's
major
no more
shit
murders.
from happening.
We had 65 murders in 3 weeks
And
one
the
time.
bosses ain't having nothing to do with nobody. The Genovese family bosses, you ain't getting near them.
Can't even talk to
They're
them.
like worth
They're
50
scared.
million, 100 million. Danny, one boss was, they have the
Bonnie.
concrete business, but Danny had, his bill was 25 million. He was out in an hour. Like posted a $25 million
that.
bill. They own and control everything, construction. They, those guys ain't going near nobody, the top bosses. So, and then they're, what it's going to become more like? It's going to become more like a secret society club, like say the Masons, or like
Right.
Something
It's
like this,
over.
where they'll punish you instead of killing you. Your punishment will be you're banned from us. You're banned from all of our network of money making schemes, and that's your punishment. Nobody can.
Well, tell them. They took away murder. There's no more murder. They said no more murders.
The families themselves
said
have
themselves
laid
no
that
more
down.
murders.
Right, because it's just not
creates
worth
rats
it. Right.
for any organization. Who the fuck's ratting over 5 years? You're a jerk off if you're ratting over 5 years. 30 years, 50 years. I know notorious murderers. I bunked with a guy who killed 8 people. He's a serial killer. He cooperated. You don't know what someone's going to do in their face in life. If you cooperate over 5 years, you never belonged in the fucking street. It took me a life sentence and 100 people to tell me to even think about it.
Right.
If you gave me 20 years, you don't meet me today. I'd be, my head in the closet spinning. I've been happy with that, coming home at fucking 46 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? Life, you don't know what anyone's going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you don't.
You can't.
Insane. Crazy. Okay, I just a hypothetical. I went to like a, I don't want to be too specific, but I went to like a sort of black market type event that somebody threw in California recently, and I'm having a conversation with the guy who's running it, and he basically tells me that a gang member showed up that morning before they did the event, and this event happened to be in a neighborhood that essentially was under control of a certain gang or whatever, and they basically told him, you give us money, we make sure that nothing bad happens at this event.
Oh, okay.
And
Like the cartels
obviously
are doing.
Bingo. And so obviously this is nothing to you guys, but from his perspective, and I don't know exactly how much money it was or whatever, but this is like a tricky inflection point in your life as a person doing business, right? Because if you say no, I mean, it doesn't
Ready
seem
for this,
maybe
Donna?
the event is over. But if you say then in theory they could follow you throughout the rest of your career and keep asking you for money.
I want all your fans to listen to me. Ask me who the biggest pussies are in jail.
Who are the biggest pussies?
Cartel.
Why you said that?
They're the biggest pussies in prison. They don't fight. They're scared to death. They get extorted. They get abused. They get their cell phones taken. They're punks in prison. They're
Why?
I don't know. They're the biggest pussies in prison. They're the biggest pussies in prison.
Jeez.
Think about that. I know that they get robbed for their cell phones, get them sold back to them. 3 times. They're punks. They don't fight.
Do
Nothing.
they just not have the network
They're
in
just
there
punks.
to protect
They're just not
themselves,
tough, and
or-
they're only tough in the street when they could, pay someone to do something. Other than that, in the street, in jail, they're getting abused.
Jeez.
They're not even
And a
tough.
lot of cartels are from Mexico, so they're probably not, lower.
They're the
than
biggest pussies in prison.
But so, okay, if you were advising this guy who's just trying to do this event and he's got somebody requesting, and I've heard about the same thing happening with like weed shops and shit where like certain gang members show up demanding money out of them. How would you advise them? Should they just shut up shop and not do this event there, or should
What
they play
did
ball?
to us is we did the same exact thing. We'd go to guys when Bruno took over as boss. He was going around telling people that own businesses that they had to pay him money. They go to the feds. You go there and they wear wires and they say, you know, one guy, he ended up getting slapped around and they all got arrested. If you do violence, and let's just say you put your hands on the guy, even a slap, and you tell him you'll kill him if he doesn't pay
That's
you
a bad charge.
that money, you're getting big time for that.
That's a bad charge,
and
bro.
that's what they did to us. They all went to the feds, and the feds would love them cases. They say they would wire them up. So just, you know, they goad them into, they go to the guy that's wearing the wire because they don't care about them either, and they get him to infuriate the guy and say, you know, get him mad, tell him you're not going to pay, get him to hit you, you know, and all this. And when the guy finally does hit him, that's what they love. Gives them more time. Like he said, those cases get brought up, the prosecutors get promoted.
Yep.
You know, the organized crime task force guys get promoted. So that's usually what happened to us. I don't know what this guy's going to do if he's going to, but like you said, once he pays,
it might
it's
follow
forever.
But let me tell you something also what Mafia was known for. We also could be so you could be a drug dealer and come to me, and I'll say, yeah, I'll protect you. You pay me. If it goes to the table, I can't protect you. I'm lying to you.
Right.
So basically, I'm taking your money for no reason. I can't go to a sit down and say, oh, yeah, this guy's giving me $10,000 a month. Don't touch him. I'd have to lie and say it's loan shark money or sports money. You can't sit and say drug money. You'd have to lie. You know what I'm saying? So there's no protecting a drug dealer in our life. You understand? So a drug dealer can come to us. We can take money from. If it goes to a table, guess who's not showing up? Me.
I had more like you say robberies where he was more like one of those vicious type robberies where he went in and robbed drug dealers. I did it more of a sophisticated way where I would have a guy give me 240 pounds of marijuana and just not pay him. You know, and then, you know, it turns out to be a $470,000 score. And then what that guy does is he'll end up bringing the beef to my captain, my boss, and he'll now my boss can't even entertain that.
Can't even think about it.
But he wants to.
Yeah.
And he's mad at me, which I'm going to deny it. He's mad at me, but number two, for two reasons. I didn't give him a penny out of it. I made $470,000 off the score, all from me. It was all mine. I gave my cousin that set up the deal $70,000.
And do you just stop picking up the phone, or do you say, "Hey, fuck you"?
Yeah.
Do
So what
something
I
about
told
it?
him was, I told this particular guy, the guy that I gave the marijuana to, got arrested. And right away, his first response was, "Is he going to be solid? Is he going to, They get all scared and nervous. Then they start thinking, like, wait a second. They start looking for newspaper articles and where is it?
They know he got robbed.
You know. So then, at this particular case, he went and tried to. Well, first he tried the part where he was going to have me killed. He made a threat to one of my guys because it was his older guy. And I asked my guy, "You mind if I?" Because they tried to do it to me first with a little scam, and I got him back. So they said, long story short, they were going to bring up a guy in New York, come this and that. I loaded a van full of guys up with guns. We waited for him to come. He says, "If I don't leave this meeting, I'm going to the feds. If I don't leave this meeting, letters are going to the feds." So he got nervous. Then he tried to go the other route and go to the captain our area, get the money. He can't get involved because it's drugs.
Can't even sit. You can't even think about it. You
but
can't
now
go
he's
to the
mad
table.
at me because I didn't give him a piece of it. So he's mad that I didn't give him that, and I'm denying it. I go, "This guy's full of shit. I don't got nothing to do with that." I go, "Bruno, that's drugs." I go, "I don't have nothing to do with it." And I can tell you like dozens of stories like that. Kilos of coke. His own son, Bruno's own son, was selling kilos, and we took the guy for a couple of kilos. He can't go to his father.
Can't say shit.
And say we just robbed him for 2 kilos. But someone else, it gets back to his word, and he asked me and my friend Louie, "You guys know anything about this?" "Nah, that's drugs."
You get a lot with the Mafia because it's so structured in rules that you get away with a lot in certain things.
They go
See, with
by
gangs,
that.
they do what the fuck they want. With us, we're very strict with rules, so you got to watch out. Your crew, like, you're
Diplomacy.
fucking selling drugs, get the fuck away from me. They'll vanish you. They'll vanish you. You walking on eggshells, around certain guys. I was around very mean gangsters, should I say. They weren't friendly.
Yeah.
Vinny Asaro was not friendly. You couldn't even say, walk up to this guy. This guy's a mob legend. Ronnie Gialonzo's very aggressive, not friendly, mean face. So those guys, you really can't. You're walking on eggshells, bro.
Right.
They'll slap
a
you
lot of them are
in
old
public.
school, like
you know what I mean? Like
he
they
wouldn't be like dressing like this and acting like this and being on social media and all that if he was around.
Weren't allowed to have social media.
Those
Really? Well.
No.
they're old school. I was talking to we used to go to Rails all the time. I was talking to one of the bartenders. A guy, my boss asked me, "What are you doing getting her?" I got her number. He was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I go, "I got her number." She goes, "She's a barmaid." Like she would, like that was no good because she worked as a bar. They're old fashioned.
Old fashioned. Yeah.
Like,
and everything with them resolves in murder. How they handle things, an old timer, is they kill you.
Really?
That's how they handle things.
Because whooping somebody's ass is kind of pointless. When they can just tell on you,
The
right?
reason they don't do that,
Listen,
you come back and kill them. Someone with your ass,
right.
now you're going to go
Listen,
get a gun and blow the brains
I told this story in a few podcasts. I had a beef with a Crip kid, right? And he was robbing little kids in my neighborhood, and I was fucking furious over it. And I went to Vinny, and I asked him, how do I handle it? He goes, kill him. I'm just like, that's the advice I get. It's just not even like nothing else. Just kill him. You know what I mean? That's how they operate. Like, just get rid of him.
Right.
You know, there's no beat him up, go do some, take him out.
And that's what you did?
Well, I tried to shoot him in his head in broad daylight. You were at 357.
It didn't work?
No, I thought I got him. He jumped on the floor. He ended up killing a cop. He ended up killing a 22-year veteran 6 months later.
Wait, so how many bodies you got?
I got 2.
Oh, 2
Yes.
former.
Well, jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
That both happened
Yes.
while you
prison.
were in there?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes. Well, one was an accident.
What kind of accident?
All right, so we fought for 10 minutes and he died of a heart attack.
Are you serious?
He was on,
Wow, that's a weird
He was
one.
on synthetic heroin.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he dropped dead of a heart attack.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine if they charge you.
Yeah. All right.
Did they think about it?
No, he's on synthetic heroin.
They couldn't really-
We fought for 10. He called me into the cell.
Wow.
It's known. It's public. I talked about it before.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So think about it. You know what I'm saying? So, like I says, my life is chaotic, and now it's turned around. Now I live a good life. I don't do this stuff no more. I'm in movies, going into movies, TV shows, all this bullshit. You know what I mean? I love it, and that's what we do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable to see you be able to turn your life around after that.
Yeah.
But, you know, all right, a funny moment when we were in that barbershop is I remember you were talking about something along the lines of, you know, if you kill somebody in this way these days, they'll just give you a couple years, yada, yada. And some of the other dudes in the barbershop are kind of like arguing with you.
Bro.
And I'm realizing that this is a weird scenario because you do have the stripes for anybody to take you serious
They
in this
don't know.
conversation, but they don't fucking know.
No.
To them, you seem like an Italian caricature, and they're like kind of not giving your words the weight that.
Well, I'm
you
trying
would
to tell them
expect.
how it works. They're saying this. Look, if you shoot somebody in the state, you get 5 years. In New York State, in the Bronx, you shoot a guy in the ass, the arm, the stomach, you're getting 5 fucking years, bro. In the feds, you're getting 30 years for it. And they're like, no, that is true. Okay, I had both cases. I shot somebody in the state, I got fucking 3 to 6. In the feds, you get 100 years for it. It's a whole different ballgame. You don't have to hit the guy in the feds. Conspiracy to murder with the attempt without hitting him, you get 20 years. Your guidelines 10 to life. You don't have to hit him. The bullet don't have to hit him. And you still get 10 to life guidelines.
Right.
Think about that. In the state, you shoot at somebody, you get reckless endangerment, 2 years. If you get caught with the gun. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't want to hear that. I know the guidelines. I did both. You know what I'm saying? So.
Definitely. That was just like, I was seeing that dynamic and I'm like, this has got to be one of the pain in the ass things about coming from a totally different.
Oh, I was ready to jump in with you the whole situation because you were defending him the whole time.
Right.
They were coming at him like it's his fault, bro. He did a documentary. Like, shut the fuck up.
Right. Well, they try to do the same thing to me.
Yeah,
where even Lil Durk said like Adam's in the way. That's one thing he said on that phone call, basically saying that like I was a contributing factor to people not being able to get along. When in reality, these dudes been killing each other for like 20 fucking years.
Right.
It's so easy to put it on the media guy.
Right.
It feels like you guys don't even bother to try with that bullshit excuse of like, oh, it's the guy who wrote a book about the mafia.
No.
It's not the fucking dudes who willingly joined this.
Right.
It's insane. It's
Right.
like it's crazy. You know what it is? It's just like victim mentality shit.
Yeah.
Is that people never want to like actually take accountability for what they've involved themselves in it. But it's easy to kind of point at the white guy and say like, that him, he's doing that shit. Yeah, it's all him.
Yeah.
But okay, so what are you doing with your life at this point, and what's your perspective on?
So I'm doing like, and you had a good question before, like, what do you do now? You do the same exact thing. You make money, you become successful, only you don't do it
It's just
illegally.
a different hustle. Yeah,
it's better though. Like I was always in legitimate businesses. That's what I'm doing now. I'm getting a Discord started. It's a beginning process of teaching people how to make money in real estate. I have a book coming out called the South End Syndicate. It's about the Genovese family and in our area, Springfield, Mass. And I have a lot of I'm in mostly real estate as far as legitimate, but like the Discord's going to be a big thing coming.
Let them know you were a big money maker in the street.
Yeah, I was like,
this
my
guy
thing
was like
I was like
made millions,
mega millions of when it came. I had the biggest like marijuana business. My loan shark business was huge. My numbers business, we were doing 80,000 a week gross in the numbers. Sports bookmaking, we were doing 10 million a month. One of our offices I pled guilty to was 2 million grossing, a month. So never mind the legitimate businesses. I had the biggest restaurant down at the Cape. We had bars and restaurants everywhere. So I always been around money and building crews and letting people earn around me. That's why I had the biggest crew in Connecticut and throughout Mass, and I had the most vicious and violent crew. I made millionaires out of so many of my crew guys. To this day that exist out there to this day that never been in prison, never went to prison, and living a good life. So I'm taking that. And what do you do today? You kill them with success, and you don't want to go back to prison after everything we went through. Throw everything away to commit crime or lose our head one day and blow someone's head off, or throw your life away. No, so you kill them with success, and that's what we're about. And
I've seen this transformation for so many people over the years, where you spend all these years actually doing shit, and then as time goes by, you sort of realize that the real lick to hit here is to take those tales and sell them back to the people.
People love this shit, man. I can't tell you how much people love our stories. I'm being honest with you. I show you my DMs. It's insane. They love this shit.
And also being in prison for so long. I did 13 years in prison. He's been in prison. We never had access to the internet. What I'm learning now about the health-wise and all of that stuff, stuff that you're putting in your body, the poisons that is such a big, huge thing that exists today in the world. Never mind.
When I think about prison, one of the things that I would most not look forward to is just having to eat a bunch of garbage ass food.
If you ain't got commissary, you fucked up in the game.
We're getting poisoned out here in the free world.
Right.
Like stuff are banned in other countries.
Yeah.
And you don't get access to all those that won't even let them GMOs and all things like that. Can you imagine the poison that they're getting fed in prison? All those the meats there, the what do you call them? The sliced meats. There's
jelly meats and
processed
processed
foods and all
shit,
that stuff. If you ever seen how they make them and how it's put together, and it's not even real meat, it's just disgusting. And so you fight your way through. A lot of guys, you come out of prison, you look great because you don't have no alcohol, no drugs in your system. If you're not a stressful person, you take advantage of it. You read self-help books. You try to read philosophy. All that, you work out every day, so you come out looking great. You combat that. Plus, you're eating macros and you eat the best things in there. You don't eat their foods. But what I learned real quick is the opposite is all the stuff that you can put in to make your body flourish, like the Celtic salt, and all the stuff that you add in your water that actually helps you. That's the big plus that I got when I came home from prison, is learning all about that.
I became a health fan. I work out a lot. How old are you?
You heard about Celtic salt?
I'm 40 years old too. I just turned 40. I'm in great shape. I don't stop working out. You know what I mean? That was something that prison helped me with.
And that's one thing I hate is I'll be interviewing a dude who just got out after doing 5 years and he's in amazing shape. Right. And then I'll see him 6 months later and he's gone. And I'm like, how do you just give up on that? You got to hold on to that shit.
I'm obsessed with that shit. I never stopped. I loved it. I still with it. I love it.
Yeah. They don't have the knowledge of the, how to keep it. It's a healthy style living. It's not a diet.
Plus, I love women.
No, for real though, staying in shape is worth it solely to be a good lover.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If it didn't help you in any other way, it would be
How do you know if a woman's really in love with you? How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know if a woman really loves you? I have the gene test.
Yeah, what's the gene test?
She got to be able to shit in front of me. If I'm in that house with her and I know she really loves me, she got to be comfortable enough to take a shit in front of me.
That's crazy you say that because
seriously,
my girl always says that the second time we ever hung out, she ended up taking a shit in front of me.
You have to.
Because we were doing so much coke that her locking the fucking door for 5 minutes was not okay by me. No, I need to rack up another line. I'm going back into the bathroom.
Seriously, bro, if you're comfortable enough, if I walk in the bathroom and we're that comfortable with each other and you really would, care about, she got to be able to use the bathroom in front of me. I feel like if you got to be comfortable. I just know that you have a real connection with a woman. She got to be able to take a shit in front of me.
For sure. This is totally out of order. I meant to ask this earlier, but in comparison to just the law enforcement cracking down on a lot of the violence and everything like that, in addition to that, you have the lottery, which has essentially replaced the numbers thing, and then you have legalized sports betting, which I'm sure that cuts into a lot of the business that you were involved with before. How much of a dent does that make as well?
That was huge. And now don't forget what they did. They cut into the loan shark with the credit cards. I never had a credit card in my life until now.
Right.
And I see how they rape these poor people, these dumb people, that they should have been taught this at school rather than the stuff that they were taught. The credit cards are just as like a loan sharks.
Yeah.
That if you don't pay it, if you owe $1,000 and you don't pay that whole $1,000 at the end of the month, you pay like say $30, and I think 5 of it goes to the 1,000, and the rest is interest.
Yeah.
So they destroy you, and then the gambling business. They took all that over. The only benefit you have by betting with the mob still, or not even mob,
Credit.
but bookmaker, yeah, they give you the credit.
That's all you got.
And you got to be an established bookmaker to have that clientele still, because no one's gonna bet with you just like meeting somebody. You bump into somebody at the casino. Oh, you want to bet with me? They don't even know you. What if you don't pay them? And they're taking shots at you. So you got to have an established reputation when it comes to that. Not only that, then the street money. They're taking all the street money that existed, and they're absorbing it all. Like now, a degenerate gambler, he used to be your degenerate gambler. He's blowing money with you. Yeah, he might not have the money. You put him on a little shy, but you always had control. Now he's going to the casino and giving them their extra money. Now he's got no money to pay you.
Right.
And then now you want to hurt him.
If you had to guess 10, 20, 30 years ago, to the extent that the Mafia will still exist, what are the key tasks that the Mafia is involved with that will never go away?
Construction.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just they're involved.
I think legitimate business.
Legitimate
That's
business,
the only
yeah.
thing they got to
Construction,
hold on to.
legitimate. Also now, but loan sharking will never end.
Yeah, but
and
it's-
Shylock will never end. Loaning
Loan
money will
sharking
never
is-
end.
Yeah, but that's going to be on low level.
Right, but it'll never end.
They're not going to be like before, where guys needed it for a business. They give them 50,000, 100,000 at a point, and it's too much of a risk today. Because if that guy doesn't,
Well, what's
pay
a
you
gangster's
for
401k? They call it loan sharking.
Yeah, but if he doesn't pay you 100,000, now you got to kill him. You're not going to let somebody just walk away. But 1,000, if you can grind out all those rackets. If I wanted to go back in that business, I could grind out a nice living for myself, but not for a Mafia crew. Like if I wanted to put 20,000 on the street at 4 points, that's 800 a week. If I wanted to get 10 customers to bet with me, and anywhere from
Right.
100 to 1,000 a game, I'll grind out a nice living there. Just a little. If I want to sell a little marijuana, little bit, and I'm not going to go to prison for none of that stuff, even today. So you can grind out a nice little living doing that, but as far as the way it was in supporting a crew, that you're not going to do that. You won't be able to. There's nothing that they can offer. When I was there, I could tell a young kid, here, go and pay and collect our number business. Put him to work in the sports business. Put him to work in the shy business. Get him in the unions. Put him in the vending business. Go around, collect the machines. These are just, you could offer someone to be around you. Make them a partner. Go, and they can't offer none of that to nobody today. There's nothing to offer a kid today, especially someone like me, that they told me to go to New York and murder a guy. How are you going to tell a kid to go and throw his life away and go murder somebody when what's he going to do? You're going to make me a made guy. Okay, now what? I'm going to be a broke made guy. I can't even make any, you're going to give me nothing to make any money.
Exactly.
There's nothing that the smart
like,
guys,
yeah.
I hate to say it, I hate the kid that did it, but he walked away. He walked away from that life, and he's lucky he didn't get killed, but there's nothing they can offer you today.
Wow.
That's why I say it's going to be like a secret fraternity, keep it with their construction, keep their guys in,
Concrete, all that bullshit. They'll always be involved in that. Sanitation, not like on the level that it was, but they'll always have their hands in that,
Right. Definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for coming and sharing the story. It definitely helped answer a lot of my questions that I had floating around in my brain and everything.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Definitely.
It was fun. I had a good time.
Great to get to pick you guys' brains, for sure. Yeah. Get to see another side of the organized crime coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. A much more organized side than a lot of the stuff I did end up dealing with on here. Yeah. All right. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Right. And tell them your socials, where they should reach out to you.
My Instagram is my name, Gene Borello. Also, you can check out our podcast, Money, Loyalty, Legacy. That's where I do all my promo for my TV show and everything. Also, the Johnny and Gene Show podcast, and that's really it.
And my Instagram is my name, Anthony Arillotta. I think it's Bingy. My nickname is in the middle.
Okay.
I do have the book coming out. It's called South End Syndicate. It's coming out September. Pre-orders are already out there. And I started a YouTube. That was another thing I'm getting involved in, just trying to get it done the right way. It was called Money, Mayhem, and the Mafia. I did 4 shows with it in downtown Springfield, where I grew up, where the actual most notorious murder in that area took place. I did the podcast in that place and talked about that, where he was murdered and everything. So that's called Murder, Mayhem, and the Mafia, and we're going to start something back up with that soon. And the Discord's coming out as far as the real estate class.
Right.
For sure.
I got to plug in my show once. Mafia 2000, Modern Day Gangsta. That's what the TV show will be called.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Thank you. No Jumper. Coolest podcast in the world. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out. That was a great one. A great episode. Historic.
Cool.
I hope I'm not forgetting any of the
That was great.
other
No, you did
stuff
good.
I've done in the past.
That was good, man.
All right. Thank you guys so much.